Ray, thank you so much for that warm introduction. And yes, I am new to the UKI, and I've been here for a little over 2.5 months, having prior held the position of Chief Operating Officer for SAP North America. And in my role, I got to have a very similar role to a lot of you, where I had the privilege and opportunity to innovate and deploy SAP technologies in my company to help SAP be best run. So I'm very glad that you've invited me here today. It gives me a great opportunity, one, to introduce myself, and two, to get to know many of you. It's been a little bit like speed dating for me over the last 2.5 months. I've been traveling all over the UK and Ireland, having the opportunity to meet as many customers as possible and starting to talk about some of the trends that are starting to impact our industry today. And I'm sure that some of you had the opportunity to attend SAP Sapphire as well as TechEd in Madrid just a couple of weeks ago and see some of these trends firsthand for yourself. So, having been with SAP since 2005, I've actually had the opportunity and privilege to work with some of the world-leading companies. Many of these companies, just like yourselves today, best-run businesses. So we're proud to be associated with each and every one of you, and I personally am very much looking forward to being a part of your community in the years to come, having spent many years being very active in the SAP user community back in North America. So from my experience in working with these companies across the world, it's really common that there's three main things that I think every company is focused on today. And that is a requirement to drive operational efficiency, a relentless focus on growth, and also a desire and a passion around innovation. And I think that's becoming more and more relevant today. And this is really important because all of us are faced with processing demands today like never before from our customers, from our suppliers, from our partners, from our shareholders, and from the public. And these demands are coming at a pace that's requiring us to respond faster than we ever have before. And as business leaders, the explosion of mobility and smart devices, as well as social networking and global supply chain, has added even more pressure to make accurate, real-time decisions and being able to respond to demand. But this has also created a very unique opportunity for us, an opportunity like we've never had before, and the capabilities to do something much different in the years to come. And this is at the center of what we call doing business in the moment. In today's ultra-competitive and fast-moving marketplace, we have a choice to make, and that choice is pretty simple. We could get overrun by the complexity truck, or we can get on the innovation bus, and you and each and every one of us be the driver. The choice is yours. This is true whether you're a mid-market manufacturer, a small retailer, a multinational distributor, a global giant. Matter of fact, it's true for every one of us in the room today. So to effectively drive this bus, the innovation bus, you need to be able to control and harness and manage the following three things, which we just heard Ray talk about: mobility, big data, and the proliferation of cloud computing in the environments today. So let's just pause and think about that for a minute. I've been in the industry a pretty long time, and we have three game-changing, disruptive technology converging on us all at once today that's going to change the landscape and the way we do business forever in this year, next year, and the years to come. And if I go back in time, I can remember some of the game changers, and I'm sure some of you can. Does anybody remember the introduction of relational database processing? Anybody here? Wow, just very few of you. That tells you how old I am, actually, because I remember the introduction of relational database processing and the changes that SQL had on the way that we retrieve information today. And that was the beginning of relational database processing. The second big trend that I got a chance, and many of us probably participated in, was client-server technology. Does anybody remember the introduction of client-server technology? I hope a few more hands go up. Okay, very good. And that was an example of where we figured out that we can actually download information from the mainframe, bring it down to a PC, and start using products like Lotus Notes 1, 2, 3 and Microsoft Office with Excel to start crunching numbers. And if we had the right level of sophistication and security, we could actually send that information up and update the mainframe. So what really started to happen was we changed the way we integrated or interfaced with the computer systems that we used to work with and moved more into a more user-friendly graphical user interface. And that changed the way we do business forever. And the last change that I can remember was the change that the impact that the internet had on the way we do business. And I think everybody remembers the arrival of the internet and the impact that that has had and how it's changed how we interact with systems today. So think about that for just a minute. We now have 3 of these game changers coming together all at once. That's going to change our landscape between now and 2013 forever. Just think about that. 3 coming together, and you've seen what has happened over 20 years of having individual game changers. And we have the opportunity to be living here in the now, in the moment, and witnessing this change as part of our career. So it's a very, very exciting time for all of us. So consider some of these facts. Big data. 90% of the world's data has been created in just the last 2 years. And it's predicted that this trend will continue and follow Moore's law, meaning every 2 years here on out, data will continue to double in size. For the cloud, some predict that by 2014, that over $100 billion will be spent by small businesses alone in cloud offerings. And also by 2020, it's predicted that over 80% of the software applications that are on the market will be available as a cloud service. And for mobility, this one absolutely astonishing, that today there's over 5 billion mobile phones and over 1 billion mobile devices in the world today. And by 2013, just a few years away, it's predicted that mobile devices will overtake PCs as the choice of how we are all going to be interacting with the web. So big data, cloud computing, mobility, these trends are already here and they cannot be ignored. You heard Ray talk about how they are all impacting the way that we do business today and are going to continue to impact us for the years to come. So we must look for ways to embrace what's happening and put these technologies to use to solve our business challenges. So how can SAP work with you so that doing business in the moment becomes a reality for each and every one of you? It starts with a solid ERP platform. That's not going away. SAP currently has over 170,000 customers, spanning business across 152 countries and across 28 different industries that depend on SAP Business Suite. And it's expected that we're going to continue to invest in that as the foundation for what we all need to be a best-run business. Matter of fact, just 2 weeks ago, we announced and released into ramp-up over 123 innovations that have gone into the Business Suite product. So it's a great example of your maintenance dollars at work driving innovation into the current platform that we all run and maintain today. But that's not enough just to invest in the platform. You heard the importance of line of business solutions. SAP today continues to deliver best-in-class line of business solutions in areas like customer resource management, human resource management, supply chain management, and many other areas that are integrated and augment what you're working with today in your current environment on the platform. And we're also very committed to putting critical business processes up in the cloud. And examples of that include solutions like career management in the cloud, time and travel, expense management in the cloud, sales in the cloud. How about business intelligence on demand? All these products available today. And finally, just last year, we released ERP in the cloud with our Business by Design solution, which is catching on very, very quickly in the industry today as a full-blown alternative to on-premise ERP. And in addition to focusing on line of business, focusing on cloud computing, focusing on the platform, we're absolutely focused on making big investments and big bets in the area of mobility as well as in the area of big data. In big data, SAP is actually revolutionizing the analytics marketplace today with HANA. Matter of fact, HANA is becoming one of the fastest adopted SAP products of all time. With HANA, you can do things like instantly predict market trends and customer needs, and also do things like see changes in your supply chain immediately and be able to respond. instantaneously. But seeing this is actually believing it. So you've heard a lot of talk about HANA. So what I'd like to do now is invite one of our senior solution engineers up on stage with me to actually demonstrate for you the power of HANA. So please join me in welcoming Adrian Simpson up the stage. Adrian?
Steve? Thank you, Steve. Let me just log on. So what I'm going to show very briefly is a view on how our in-memory technology allows you to get access into vast quantities of data with a very simple user interface and very speedy responses. So what I've got, we're running Business Objects Explorer. So this may be a user interface you're familiar with and you've seen before. This is one of the user interface options into HANA. So you'll see in some of the breakout sessions this afternoon in the HANA Revolution track, we'll be showing it through Explorer like now, through BW into HANA, and also through Excel into HANA as well. So there's lots of options you can use. The point of this database, or this query here, is to show you the speed and the volume. So the important bit to notice is the number of records that I'm dealing with. So up in the top right-hand corner there, you can see we've got a database behind the scenes running on a HANA appliance which has got 3.2 billion records. So this is point-of-sale information across sales information, across a number of products, across a number of territories. Explorer has come in and has deduced that some good measures to work on might be sold dollars by calendar year. So that's what Explorer has worked on from the HANA database, looked across the metrics there and thought they're a good guess for it. Just to show that we really are dealing with the numbers, if I click on occurrences, you'll see a couple of charts change, and what you'll see down the bottom here is that the number of records we're dealing with is 3.2 million, and the time it took to get those records was 0.033 of a second. So as I go through the queries, this number up here is the one to be watching for. We've got a bit of network latency, as we like to call it, but that number up there is what's happening on the HANA box, dealing with 3.2 billion records. So in this case, if I start to drill down, so if I start to look at, say, the 2010 data, then the chart changes. Business Objects Explorer has a guess that category might be a good division, a good metric to look at, and it got those records in 0.033 of a second. Still, so we've gone down from 3.2 billion records. We've now focused on 805 million records. So we're still dealing with quite a lot of data there. But the speed of the HANA appliance in the background is able to very quickly digest that information and bring back the results into, in this case, Business Objects Explorer, so I can start asking further questions. So in this case, it's come up with category, but equally, if I wanted to change that and say, look at that, how does that apply over the months? Very quickly, I can do that. And again, I might want to sort that information so we get it across our years. And again, even working with 805 million records, I can get very quick responses in there. And I can start asking questions and drilling down into whatever dimensions and measures I want to that are in this data. So we've got it on a calendar there. If we actually go back to category, what we want to maybe want to do is drill down a little bit further. So we can see our leading number of, at least working at occurrences here, so number of records. But if we start to look at, actually, I want to look at dollars, how much have we sold of these values? Then again, the speed of dealing with 805 million records, 0.044 of a second, to look at a different dimension there. And now I can start to drill down. So, for example, if I started to look at, so this is American data. So you'll see one of the top sellers is soccer, what we call football. American data, there's another category called football. Steve will understand this one. So if I drill down into the American football option, we're now going to look into a different set of records. If I drill down into that, so I'm focusing my search. But again, HANA is able to quickly respond to that and pull back the number of records that we're dealing with. In this case, we're down to 39 million records, you can see up here, and it took 0.033 of a second. So consistency of response is something you get with HANA. Even though I'm dealing with a very large database, I can slice and dice in it as many ways as I want and consistently get a very speedy response back from that data. And I can now, just to finally, I can change that category there to, say, the subcategory. So what do we sell within the football category? We sell helmets and pads. So now you know it's American. So we've got those two categories there. We've got sold dollars. Let's just quickly change the charts. Let's make it a little bit more graphical so we can see now. So just over 75% of our sale dollar values is within helmets, and the other just over 24% is the pads. But perhaps let's start adding in more information to this. So just to finish off, what happens if I start to say, well, let's look at the number we've sold against here as well, and automatically, again, just the speed there, 0.05 of a second, we're dealing with 39 million records, and very easily I can now start to see what value we've done against sold versus the number of records, and actually quite graphically see the profitability of those different sizes of things and work out which is the most profitable. So what HANA has shown you there is dealing with, starting off with 3.2 billion records, being able to drill down by any dimension I want to, understand the insight into that data, and then also I can then do things like share this information out to other people I might want to do or export that information out. But the speed of response, the in-memory technology is responsible for that and making sure that we can get answers to any question we want to ask on the data in very quick and very consistent feedback time.
Adrian, thank you so much for demonstrating the power of HANA. And for those of you who are interested in seeing more and learning more about HANA, I strongly encourage you to visit the exhibition floor and check in at any one of the booths. And as a matter of fact, I've got to give a shout out to the Bluefin folks because they actually brought a HANA box in. So I encourage you to go to the Bluefin booth and see actual live demonstrations of HANA running today with a real-life customer scenario. So thank you, Adrian. We switch back. Don't go away because we're going to need you in just a minute. So we can't talk about HANA without also talking about what's going on in the area of mobility. And mobility solutions can enable you to transform how you provide services to your employees, to your partners, and your customers. Matter of fact, it allows you to kind of revolutionize how you're able to provide business in a 24/7 type of environment, anywhere and any time. Just last month, matter of fact, SAP launched over 20 new mobile apps in this marketplace related to mobility, including applications that focus on certain areas like human resources, on sales, on supply chain, and many, many other areas. All these apps were developed to increase efficiencies and productivity and to make it easier for you and your employees to do business in the moment. So what I'd like to do is ask Adrian again to provide us another example of a new SAP application. And this time we'll demonstrate a mobility app called Manager Insight. Adrian?
Okay, thank you, Steve. So if we can swap over to the iPad. So as Steve mentioned there, we released over 20 apps just last month. You can see all of them on the SAP stand. We've got capabilities on there. You can also see HANA on the stand with another user interface, which is using your hands as the interface on there and waving at a screen. But just focus on mobility. I'm going to drill down into the HR app. So I want you to put yourself into the minds of being someone who works in HR. I know some of you do, but the rest of you try hard. This is allowing me, if I'm a HR person, I've got a couple of execs that I'm responsible for. So I'm the business partner for two people here, for Adam Evans and for Daniel Sullivan. And what I want to be able to do is to be able to work with them to understand how their teams are performing and look against the metrics that we're applying against the talent management, their performance criteria, what skills they've got, and all those kind of things. So these people are busy people. I want to be able to get that information in front of them, and the device I'm going to use is the iPad. So what I can do, if I pull Adam and draw him over onto the right-hand side of there, we start to get some information on his area. So he's the SVP for products, and we've got some information there on his length of service and that. That's him, so I can have a conversation about him, but I'm probably going to do that with his manager. So what I'm able to do is I click onto the little organization icon within Adam's area there, that'll pull up all the team members within Adam. And I can see I've got his 4 direct reports on there, and I can drag one of those over onto the right-hand side and pull up Ethan's responses on there. So now I can have a conversation with Adam about the response that Ethan's doing. So how's he doing in terms of his performance? And I've got his talent management scores for the last 3 years. We can see how he's performing on his performance and his potential, and have a discussion, are there any areas we need to address on there? I can look at his history and understand what other roles he's done. Maybe he's new into my organization, so I need that historical information on where else he's worked within the organization. And also, I can then look at his competencies as well, so I can actually understand, are there any areas that we need to address as part of his personal development during this year that we can have a conversation, I can have a conversation with his manager and work on what would be the best things to do for there. And I can scroll down there and see the different elements we've got on there. And also, I can look at his compensation and maybe start to do some reporting on there to see whether is that the right kind of place where he should be, is he in the right grading structure. So that adds up to the kind of idea of then being able to do some reports. So it's useful to be able to analyze what's happening across the organization and understand how are we doing against the key metrics that HR are measuring in the organization. So for example, if we look at, to just address on the top talent side of things, there's built-in analytics on the mobile device, which is linking into the back-end HR system, which allows me in this case to look at the number of the potential count versus location. I can change those dimensions by clicking on location. Let's perhaps have a look and see how we're doing against gender, against location, and we can start to see there's a couple of metrics in there. Perhaps rather than look at high potentials, have we got a problem with the number of people of leaving across the different areas? So I can very quickly change the dimensions in there and get an insight into what's going on within those kind of reports. There's other reports in there as well. So for example, if we want to look at the headcount side of things, I can start to say, well, are we looking at headcount versus a percentage versus a full-time equivalent? Looking at location, do I want to perhaps look at that by gender rather than by location? And we can start to see what's happening across those different areas in the full-time equivalents, maybe versus against headcount, and start to drill down there. So I can do this information on the fly in front of the manager and be able to have the meaningful conversations directly with a mobile application, which is allowing me to really understand that person's organization and therefore take decisions on how we run that part of the organization. And as something one of our customers said to one of our co-CEOs a couple of weeks ago at our Sapphire conference, this is the simplicity of Apple with the speed of Google, and it's SAP that's delivering that kind of innovation.
Adrian, thank you so much, and that's just a great demonstration of what it's like to do business in the moment, especially around human capital management. And this kind of summarizes and ties everything together that SAP can offer. This is built on top of the world-class Business Suite platform, leveraging line of business human resources and tying that together in a mobile type of application, all fully integrated, so that you have the ability to do business in the moment with a fully integrated solution. And SAP is the only alternative that's on the marketplace today that provides us full suite of applications that give you the choice to run on-premise, on-demand, and on-device with complete integrated orchestration. So as you begin to navigate some of the complex challenges that things like mobility and cloud computing and big data bring to the table, keep in mind that SAP UK Ireland here is your partner, and we're also supported, as you can see from the exhibition hall, by the world's leading ecosystem to help all of us be successful in some of our challenges. We continue to move forward to make our businesses best run. So you have my personal commitment that here as Managing Director of the UKI, our customers are foremost and center in the heart of everything that we do. We will continue to build on this partnership of trust with you and work side by side to make sure that each and every one of you have the opportunity to be best run businesses and enjoy the success that you expect to be able to enjoy. So thank you very much. So as I mentioned earlier in my introduction, as the Chief Operating Officer for SAP North America, I had the chance to be a customer and also deploy SAP systems and take advantage of some of the new innovations like HANA and like mobility in our organization in North America. And it was my privilege to work very closely with our Chief Operating Officer, Oliver Bussman, who is our next speaker. And in working very closely with Oliver, it was an absolute great opportunity to see SAP embrace things like in-memory technology, things like mobility, things like line of business solutions, and fully bring these to life so that we could be best run to better help you be best run. So please join me in welcoming Oliver Bussman to the stage so he can share with you how SAP runs SAP. Oliver?